Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to talk about clutches because first CFMoto, because there is a couple differences that you need to know about. These look the same, they're not the same. We're going to go over some stuff. So if you're ordering parts for your clutch for your CFMoto, we're going to go over some stuff that you need to be aware of and you need to look at, because we've had some customers ordering the wrong parts. Not their fault, but just confusion, and we'll blame this confusion on CFMoto because it's their fault. Now, I want to let you know that CFMoto actually has right now on the market, 4 different types of primaries, okay? They have a wet clutch primary that we're not even going to talk about because that hasn't been being made for years, so it's not on the table. Then they have their CV Tech primary trail block and their CV Tech trail block primary. I know, same clutch, right? Then they have their OmniDrive clutch. Now this one here, those of you who know what you're looking at, you're gonna be like, that's not an OmniDrive clutch. You're right. This is a KRX clutch, but the OmniDrive clutch looks very similar to it. So I'm just using it for reference because I don't have an available OmniDrive clutch. Sold the only one I had in stock. So let's get to tearing these clutches apart and show you the differences. Now, on top of both of them, you're gonna have a nut. This one's missing a nut because I left it on the bench. But we're going to take that nut off of here. Okay. Now I just threw these together just to show you. So I got some new parts mixed with used parts. We have what we call our cam plate. These are identical. No changes. Then we have our sliders. These are identical, no changes. These are identical, no changes. The springs that's coming in on factory are identical, no changes. Factory spring will look like this. Some of my springs look like this. This is my spring. Now we get down to where the changes occur, okay? We have these cups, spring cups. Both clutches will have, we need that, we're going to go over that in a minute. Both clutches will have some washers and stuff. One's a speed limiter and one's technically a bushing. Both clutches will have those identical. As again, I threw these together for demonstration purposes. This is the older clutch. And as you can see, the older one is much thinner. The newer one is much thicker. Bigger fins, more airflow. This clutch will fit on this clutch's shaft. This clutch will not fit where this clutch goes. So let's talk about the machines before we get into the major differences. This is what you really need to know. Let's talk about the machines that utilize these. So the old Z950s, HOEX, Sport, the Gen 2, 800 and 950s, the UForce 1000, the UForce 800, the newer ZForce 800, the 22 and up version uses this clutch. The older ZForce 800 and back and UForce 800 and back uses the wet clutch. It's not on this table. The new high output motors are now using these. And these new clutches can also be found in 2025 UForce 1000, 1000 XL. We actually have seen some from 2023 on up of these mixed in to the UForce 1000s and some of the 950s, where normally they would have this. Hence the video, okay? This is where it gets tricky. But like I said, we've been selling people this clutch to replace this clutch for reasons we're going to go over in just a minute. So you can run this clutch where this one is currently, but you cannot run this one where this one is currently. The biggest difference is going to be the fins, the fin stack, okay? Which doesn't really make a huge difference. It just moves a little bit more air, keeps clutches a little cooler, which is great. But they screwed it all up when they did what they did. So let's start with this one. This one, you have a roller bearing. And some of them, like the 400, 500, and 600 engines, have a bearing that looks like this as well. The 400, 500, 600 will have an engine brake bearing in the center. The 1000s, same clutch, pretty much. Don't have that, but the bearing looks the same. Now, these bearings you can pull out of here and you can rebuild. We have a rebuild kit on our website. It's super easy to rebuild, and it's cheaper to rebuild using this kit than it is buying a complete bearing. If your machine has the sprag bearing on the inside for the engine brake, you can pull out these bearings and then pull that engine brake sprag bearing out of there and alleviate tons of problems. All right, here's where it gets messed up. One, we're going to have a bearing. I don't know if they call this a nylon bushing, a bearing bushing. We do have these in stock. When you replace these, you're going to need to purchase two. And I'll tell you why. So you're going to pull your bearing off. And then there's going to be another one of these on the other side of the bearing. So it'll be sandwiched here and then another one here. This bearing is a roller style bearing, and it's got a seal on each side of it to keep dirt out and grease in. But the problem with this bearing is they're not lasting, okay? They're not lasting very long at all. You can't replace this inner race. This technically is an inner race, and I've been contemplating if I wanted to try to take it off of here, because I think if we take this off of here, we'll be able to use this bearing on this clutch. I would just need to find some sort of spacer or something to make that happen. Anyway, so it's got a roller type bearing. So whenever you're replacing your bearing, we've had a lot of customers order this bearing, but they had this one, and order this one, but they had this one. And it's not really their fault, but I want to help you. Because here's the thing, customers will call us, and other businesses are getting the same thing, dealers and everything. When a customer will order something, they get the wrong one, they blame you for sending the wrong one, when in fact, they ordered the wrong one. If they would have called us, we would have sent them the correct one, because we would have made sure to ask them, because you can't look up a year model. 2025 you can. It'll tell you that it's got this clutch in it. But like I said, we've seen them in 23s, but 1 out of every 100 or so. So we would literally have to ask you and have you look just to make sure what bearing's in there, because you look it up on the schematic, it's not going to tell you. So is it your fault you ordered the wrong one? Probably not, but you always want to double check and try to match parts up. Anyway, back to why this bearing doesn't work. This is a roller bearing. And you would think a roller bearing style would work great. It don't, because dirt and debris do end up getting past here, where these are better sealed and they spin on their own race, where this is just relying on these little thin seals, and dirt and water and everything else gets past that seal. And if you look, it seals literally right there. And then you have this washer that fits right there. And then you have this cup that goes right on. Well, there's still gaps in there. And water, if you get water in your CVT, it's bad. Now, water will ruin this one too, but not as quickly. It won't get into this sealed bearing as quickly as it does this one. The biggest failure we see, the biggest common one, is this bearing rubs. That's what it does. It rubs on this. And when you're using your engine braking and stuff, and you're coasting downhill, and your secondary is driving your belt a gazillion miles an hour and making this bearing go zzz, that noise you hear when you're going down the hill, that screaming high-pitched noise, that's your bearing asking for mercy, okay? And when it's doing that, it's rubbing on this. It ends up melting. This one's not melted, it's just stuck in here. It ends up melting this, and then the bearing moves over farther, and starts gouging up the clutch. And when it gouges up the clutch, you got to replace this whole piece. You can't just put new nylons in there and call it a day, because whenever it runs in there more, it's just going to eat up on the aluminum. So guys, when you're ordering parts from our website or anybody else's website, I want you guys to be aware of some of these changes that CFMoto has made. And my honest opinion, this is the dumbest thing they could have done. This didn't help nothing besides help their pockets of you spending more money with them, because this right here, we thought these were bad. We thought these weren't lasting very long. Shoot, these things last a long time compared to these. I've seen these fail within 100 miles on a machine, where these you're at least getting maybe 1,000 plus, right? Unless you're in the water, then these will fail a lot quicker. But that's some of the differences with these clutches. And then you got the Omni Drive clutch, okay? The U10 has its version of the Omni Drive. The Gen 3 CForce 800 1000 has its version of the Omni Drive. And then the Z10 has its version of the Omni Drive. So all these different clutches, and CFMoto is not being real clear with parts diagrams, and they're throwing clutches on stuff that's only supposed to have this one. So guys, when you order a clutch, what we've been doing is selling people this one. You get the better bearing. We upgrade. These are bearing upgrades. They're not just a rebuild. This is an upgrade compared to what's in there. We do sell this one on our website, as well as the shims or nylons or whatever they call them. But you can't grease this. You can't grease this to make anything last, because then a grease will get on your belt and then it'll slip. So I just wanted to show you guys the differences on this stuff. And just so you know, they're same size around and all that stuff. Literally the same clutch with some minor changes. The shafts, so the HO shaft is a little longer to use this one in place of this one and that, but the shafts are literally, they're the same. So we've been selling people this one, and they've been putting it in place of this one so they can maintain the bearing better and cheaper. This bearing is outrageously expensive, and it doesn't last. These last for a long time. So I wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. Thank you for watching. Peace out. God bless. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the comments below and let me know your thoughts on this mess. And should CFMoto be a little bit more transparent about their parts? Because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know until somebody like me comes on here and points everything out for you. So peace out. God bless, guys. We'll see you in the next one.